The initial sound was not the click of the latch. Rather, it was the soft murmur of wood brushing against the frame as the door creaked open. A sound that ought to have been muted, yet resonated like a thunderclap in the quietude of her bedroom. Claire's heart fluttered like a frantic bird trapped within her ribs. Stilled before her ajar closet, her fingers clung to the origin of the soft, persistent hum that coursed up her arm, a clandestine surge of energy that, until this very moment, belonged solely to her. There was no need for her to turn. She sensed him nearby, an abrupt absence in the golden afternoon glow, a presence that altered the very atmosphere she inhaled. The humming intensified, a mocking, unyielding drone that enveloped the space between them, a sound that stripped her of her defenses, exposing a facet of herself she had never meant for anyone, especially not him, to witness. As she mustered the courage to glance, a chill coursed through her veins. There stood Ethan, her son, in the doorway. He had returned home from college for the summer at the age of 20, embodying manhood in every significant aspect. Yet, in her heart, he remained the boy whose scraped knees she had tenderly bandaged. Yet the gaze that met hers in that moment was no longer that of a boy. They stood, eyes wide and flickering between her face, her hand, and the shadowed corner of the wardrobe from whence the sound emerged. A cosmos of bewilderment and a burgeoning, terror-stricken realization churned within their depths. The ensuing silence enveloped them like a heavy shroud, stifling and oppressive. In that instant she transcended the role of his mother. He was not her son. They were merely a man and a woman ensnared in a heart-wrenching scene of revelation. The space that once served as her refuge now resembled a prison. Each item, the faded velvet armchair, the towering stack of books on her nightstand, the silver-framed photograph of a youthful Ethan resting on her dresser, appeared to stand as a silent observer to this devastating disintegration. At 47, she stood as a widow, a woman who had artfully crafted a life steeped in quiet dignity and commendable solitude. That existence had been abruptly fractured by the shrill sound of a flimsy trinket and the terrified stare of her own offspring. Ethan parted his lips, yet silence enveloped him. He recoiled slightly, as though her presence had exerted a tangible force upon him. His eyes were fixed on the closet, drawn to the source of that unyielding thrumming. He struggled to merge the memory of the woman who crafted Sunday pancakes and assisted him with calculus homework with the enigma before him. A stranger cradling a secret, vibrant existence within her grasp. Mother. He finally forced the words from his throat, each one sounding alien and fragile. It was never my intention. The door stood ajar. Claire's fingers slackened, and the toy slipped from her hold, descending with a gentle thud onto the carpet. Its hum now subdued yet still menacing. A surge of warmth enveloped her, a profound and aching flush that began in her chest and ascended to the very roots of her hair. Regret. It manifested as a visceral sensation, a malaise twisting within her abdomen, accompanied by a quiver in her fingers. She wished for the ground beneath her to part and engulf her entirely. It is essential that we discuss this matter. She managed to utter her voice as a strained whisper, unrecognizable as her own. Yet a fleeting glance at the clock on her bedside table sent another surge of panic coursing through her. She found herself on a date, a rare and exhilarating venture into a realm untouched by parent-teacher conferences or grocery lists. However, I must venture outside. I find myself already behind schedule. The justification rang hollow, a frantic escape from a truth she was unwilling to confront. In that moment, she presented the word, suspended in the electric atmosphere that enveloped them. Upon my return we shall converse. I assure you. Ethan merely nodded, his eyes remaining wide, his complexion ashen. He appeared ensnared, like a deer frozen in the blinding glare of a reality he never sought to confront. He pivoted in silence and hurried away, his footsteps thundering on the stairs, each one striking like a hammer against Claire's already frayed nerves. Abandoned to the echoing stillness, Claire pressed herself against the closet door, her legs on the verge of collapsing beneath her. She inhaled deeply, a tremor coursing through her as she sought to gather the fragmented remnants of her being. With an air of mechanical haste, she completed her preparations. The little black dress resembled a costume, a ludicrous facade of a life that had lost its authenticity. With a trembling hand, she swept a bold stroke of red lipstick across her lips. The visage that met her gaze was unfamiliar, a woman with eyes that held shadows, and a secret now woven into their shared existence. The allure of a delightful evening, a fleeting reprieve from her lonely existence, had transformed into a different sort of confinement. Her son had glimpsed the world beyond the veil. He had glimpsed her solitude, her desires, her concealed inner essence. The sight of his astonished expression lingered in her thoughts, an unspoken reproach that would not fade. As she stepped outside, the crisp night air failed to soothe the burning fever coursing through her veins. She strolled toward a rendezvous with a man whose name danced just out of reach in her memory, all the while distancing herself from a chasm that had abruptly gaped open in the core of her family. Each step weighed down by the awareness that upon her return, she would confront the specter within the mechanism, the silent presence that now lingered between her and her son. The night had ceased to be a refuge. It was simply a delay before the unavoidable confrontation. This event served as a pivotal point, shifting the very foundation of their existence. The unveiling of the toy did more than reveal a hidden truth. It transformed the entire ambience of their household. It served as a spark, awakening a gradual blaze of consciousness within Claire. For years, she had submerged her own identity into the role of mother. Her form served as a sanctuary for growth. Her time served as a precious resource for her son. Her longings existed merely as a footnote in the narrative of his development. That footnote was insisting on being read. As she gazed into Ethan's astonished eyes, a revelation unfolded within her. For the first time in 10 years, she truly beheld herself. She stood before the full-length mirror, not merely to assess her attire, but to engage in a deeper examination of herself. She observed the delicate incline of her shoulders, the subtle arch of her hips, the whisper of silver strands woven through her dark hair that she often endeavored to overlook. These were not mere indicators of aging. They stood as symbols of a womanhood that had lain in wait, not extinguished. A peculiar, long-buried awareness of her own corporeal existence began to awaken. The awakening was both deeply unsettling and profoundly exhilarating. She discovered herself embracing subtle, defiant transformations. In a departure from her typical modest blouses and practical trousers, she retrieved a soft V-neck sweater from the depths of her drawer, one that subtly suggested the curve of her collarbone. Her skirt danced around her knees with each step, a quiet homage to the art of motion. These were subtle gestures, mere whispers of recognition towards her own essence. With every subtle gesture of reclamation, she sensed a veil of maternal disguise peel away, unveiling the woman within. And Ethan observed. Certainly he was aware. The dwelling, once a haven of blissful unawareness among its inhabitants, now pulsed with an unarticulated strain. He was haunted by the images that lingered in his mind. His mother, the unwavering and constant core of his existence, now revealed an unexpected depth. His gaze was irresistibly captivated by her, unlike anything he had ever experienced. He observed her as she extended her arm for a coffee mug perched on a high shelf, the material of her shirt stretching snugly across her back. He observed how she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, her fingers lingering for a moment on her skin. A peculiar warmth would tingle against his skin, a bewildering blend of his residual embarrassment and an unwelcome flicker of something entirely different. At 20, amidst a sea of peers at college, he grappled with an unsettling shift in how he viewed his own mother. The atmosphere surrounding them shimmered with tension. A straightforward good morning carried a weight of significance. Navigating the narrow hallway transformed into a meticulously orchestrated performance, where each movement was calculated to prevent any accidental contact. A performance that only underscored their heightened sensitivity to one another's physical existence. Claire witnessed everything. She noticed how his eyes would dart away whenever she caught him staring, the subtle blush that would rise to his neck betraying his embarrassment. As he stepped into the room, she sensed an immediate change in the atmosphere. A portion of her being, the maternal instinct, was filled with horror. She was inflicting discomfort upon her son, leaving him bewildered, and snaring their relationship in a complex web of inappropriate awareness. Yet, another facet of her, the woman who had remained unseen for an eternity, experienced a brief spark of something different, a rush of excitement. It was the exhilarating sensation of being recognized not merely as a nurturing presence, but as an individual in her own right. Their dialogues transformed into a treacherous landscape of hidden meanings. She would playfully chide him for his untidy room, and he would respond with a light-hearted quip about her fondness for classic films. Yet beneath the surface, a deeper dialogue was unfolding. Their exchange was woven with furtive glances and smiles that lingered just a heartbeat too long, creating a tension that was both exhilarating and unnerving. Ethan, for his part, found himself enveloped in a persistent undercurrent of unease. He marveled at her blossoming confidence, this dynamic woman who was unfolding from the cocoon of his mother. He witnessed her bravery, her subtle rebellion, and it ignited an unwilling respect within him. They ventured into the unknown, charting a course through unfamiliar landscapes devoid of guidance. The unearthing of the toy had unwittingly dismantled a barrier, compelling them to face the truth that they were not merely mother and son, but two distinct, intricate beings, each harboring their own aspirations and hidden truths, coexisting beneath the same roof. Claire understood that she must confront the quiet, vibrating tension that had come to characterize their lives. She needed to navigate the situation with elegance and thoughtfulness to safeguard the connection they had always cherished. Yet she could no longer ignore the fact that circumstances had shifted. The balance had vanished, and they found themselves precariously traversing a narrow path above an unfamiliar and vertiginous abyss. The stillness was unable to endure. With each passing day, it swelled, expanding to occupy every nook and cranny of the house, rendering the air nearly unbreathable. Everyday household tasks transformed into treacherous endeavors. The breakfast table resonated with the delicate harmony of clinking silverware and the weight of unvoiced reflections. Each look seemed to probe deeply, while every pause hung heavy with unspoken blame. For Ethan, the vision from his mother's bedroom was etched into his memory. A jarring piece of footage played on a loop, shattering his entire conception of her. The buzzing filled the air, and her expression clashed fiercely with 2 decades of recollections. Her role as a caregiver, a protector, a steadfast refuge. He possessed the maturity to grasp the intricate workings of human loneliness and desire, yet attempting to apply that insight to his own mother felt like a jarring clash of cognition and emotion. He was consumed by a searing, possessive rage towards the nameless suitor she had spent the evening with, intertwined with a deep and shameful intrigue regarding the hidden existence she had been leading. The discomfort grew, morphing into an oppressive weight within his chest. He understood that evading it was merely exacerbating the situation. As dusk descended and the house embraced its evening stillness, he discovered her in the kitchen, gazing out the window above the sink. He inhaled deeply, his heart pounding within his chest as if it were a clenched fist. "Mother." Claire's expression became a mask of caution. The atmosphere grew dense. Recently he started to speak, his voice wavering just a bit. "As I stepped into your room, a sense of familiarity enveloped me. I ought not to have, and I beheld a sight that was never intended for my eyes." A rush of hue swept across Claire's cheeks. She had meticulously rehearsed this conversation in her mind, yet the actual experience still jolted her senses. She gazed at her son, observing the earnest and tormented expression etched upon his face, and recognized not a child, but a young man grappling with a predicament he never ought to have faced. "I know Ethan," she said, her voice a gentle yet unwavering whisper, "and I'm the one who's sorry. It was unjust for you to find yourself in such a predicament. Yet it transpired, and we must find the words to discuss it." As she started to speak, she astonished herself with her own honesty. She did not discuss the toy in isolation. Rather, she delved into the deeper themes it embodied: loneliness, the yearning for solitude, and the poignant reminder that before she embraced the role of mother, she was an individual with her own life and desires. She selected her words with precision, striving for a tone of gentle adult honesty, seeking to acknowledge his maturity, while also firmly establishing the necessary boundary between them. Yet, as she articulated her thoughts, the transformation within him became impossible to overlook. His gaze, once fixed upon hers, began to wander restlessly. He shifted in his chair, a subtle, restless movement. He folded his arms across his chest, only to release them moments later. His posture, typically at ease and somewhat slouched, had transformed into a state of tension, rigid and unyielding. She noticed him make a barely perceptible shift in his seat, a motion so delicate that she could have overlooked it had the atmosphere surrounding them not been thick with acute awareness. She noticed the subtle constriction in his jeans. The revelation struck her with the force of a tangible impact. The discourse surrounding intimacy in the clinical abstract was exerting a palpable influence on him. A moment of deep and chilling revelation unfolded. A powerful, protective maternal instinct surged within her, a desperate urge to shield him from this reality. Yet it was intertwined with another force, something shadowy and charged, an unsettling recognition of his reaction to her ability to summon it. It served as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance they were navigating, a space where the revered essence of motherhood intertwined with the intricate truths of womanhood. She halted, inhaling deeply and steadily, seeking tranquility. This moment demanded nothing less than pure elegance. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice softening to an almost tender murmur. "This situation feels rather uncomfortable. This conversation may understandably evoke a sense of confusion. These emotions, these responses, they are woven into the fabric of existence. Yet the bond between us, yours and mine, stands firm on a bedrock of trust and respect. The paramount consideration is that is what we must safeguard, eternally." He finally lifted his gaze, his cheeks flushed with a blend of shame and relief shimmering in his eyes. He nodded, words escaping him. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for her honesty, for the manner in which she guided them through this treacherous terrain, free from judgment. As the dialogue drew to a close, an unmistakable wave of relief enveloped them. They had traversed a treacherous dialogue and emerged on the other side, not unscathed, but with a richer, more intricate comprehension of each other. The line that separated them had been challenged, stretched, and ultimately redefined, sharper and more essential than ever before. They had discovered a deep understanding of empathetic communication and the bravery required to confront uncomfortable truths. As Ethan withdrew to his room, leaving Claire in the stillness of the kitchen, she sensed that their journey was only just beginning. This was merely a beginning, a fresh start, yet infinitely more intricate. In the stillness of the kitchen, the soft murmur of their dialogue lingered like a ghost, weaving through the silence. Claire filled her glass with wine, the rich crimson liquid swirling elegantly, a vivid counterpoint to the pale anxiety that still clung to her gut. Her hand quivered ever so slightly as she raised the glass to her lips. The wine failed to provide the tranquility she yearned for. Her mind replayed the scene, honing in with unsettling precision on the nuanced indicators of Ethan's physical reaction. The manner in which he adjusted himself in the chair, the tautness in his jaw, the deep hue that had risen from his collar. It was an instinctive biological response triggered by a discussion on intimacy, a dialogue set in motion by his mother. This revelation sparked an unsettling and profoundly troubling turmoil within her. The maternal instinct within her was engulfed in horror, a deep shame settling in as she realized she had subjected him to an experience that provoked such a reaction. Yet within her, the long-neglected woman who had lingered in the shadows of invisibility for years, sensed a flicker of something more, a shadowy, forbidden flicker of strength, a startling realization that, even within this nurturing role, she could still be perceived as an object of desire. The notion was repulsive, and she attempted to cast it aside. Yet it came back, relentless and unwelcome. How could she harmonize the deep, unwavering love she felt for her son with this illicit spark of realization? Was it customary to feel this ensnared? These questions loomed like a tempest, drawing her into a perilous current of ethical and emotional strife. With a sense of foreboding clarity, She recognized the intricate ballet she was about to undertake. She needed to recognize the intricate, chaotic nature of their circumstances while firmly upholding the boundaries that were crucial for the well-being and security of their family dynamic. As the night deepened, she lingered in her turmoil, allowing the wine and the silence to weave their intricate spell. A fresh determination started to take shape within her. A dual strategy was essential for the journey ahead. She needed to lead Ethan toward creating a sanctuary where he could navigate the complexities of his emerging adulthood, distinct from the tumultuous whirlwind of their shared experience. In that moment, she was compelled to confront her own needs with genuine sincerity, not through clandestine buzzing devices tucked away in the shadows of a closet, but rather in a manner that was wholesome, transparent, and deeply satisfying. She needed to discover a path that allowed her to embrace both womanhood and motherhood, ensuring that neither identity would taint the other. As she drained the last sip of her wine, she rose to rinse the glass, this modest chore serving as a fragile tether amidst the tempest of her swirling thoughts. The path before me was fraught with peril. It would require a strength and a wisdom she questioned whether she truly held within herself. Yet she had confronted loneliness, grief, and the countless trials of raising a child alone. She would confront this as well. She would traverse this delicate balance with the unwavering bravery and elegance that had characterized her existence. With each step ascending to her room, the heaviness of the night enveloped her. Yet, beneath the burden lay a glimmer of hope, the assurance that dawn would break anew, bringing with it the opportunity for growth for both her and Ethan. In the days that ensued, the house transformed into a platform for a delicate yet perilous dance. The stark humiliation of the revelation started to morph into something different, a subtle yet persistent energy that vibrated just under the skin of their exchanges. Claire, compelled by an instinct she could neither comprehend nor restrain, discovered herself exploring the boundaries of this newfound consciousness. She was drawn inexorably to the dynamic, vibrant essence of her son's masculinity. As she donned a simple sundress that gently caressed her form, she felt a heightened awareness when his gaze followed the curve of her silhouette while she glided through the living room. The awareness that she could draw forth that fleeting, unprotected instance of admiration coursed through her, igniting a thrilling sensation, a warmth that unfurled within her veins like a languid poison. Their exchanges took on a light-hearted, teasing essence that flirted with the boundaries of attraction. She crafted reasons for fleeting encounters, her fingers grazing his arm as she glided past him in the kitchen, her form irresistibly drawn to the warmth that emanated from him. She relished the delicate, sudden gasp of his breath, the way he would briefly halt, as if struck by an electric jolt. Every response served as a spark, intensifying a curiosity she understood she ought to quell. Ethan found himself ensnared in this magnetic pull, the gentle curve of his mother's form, the fleeting sight of her neckline as she leaned to care for the garden, the sway of her hips as she moved. All of it combined to stir a yearning that was both bewildering and intense. He discovered a newfound, audacious confidence in himself as he countered her playful jabs, leaving them both astonished. His eyes locked onto hers, lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary, a quiet clash of unvoiced vows and alluring potential. The atmosphere surrounding them was laden with layered meanings and shared humor, now infused with a tantalizing tension that left them both feeling warm and exhilarated. The twilight hours were fraught with danger. Following dinner, they frequently withdrew to the living room, where the gentle glow of the lamp fashioned a cozy, self-contained realm. They settled onto the couch, seemingly to enjoy a film, yet the true spectacle was the tension simmering between them. Their legs would graze against one another, sending a spark of energy coursing between them. Claire leaned in, her voice a soft murmur about the film, her breath brushing against his ear, keenly attuned to the rapid rhythm of his heartbeat. She delighted in the way his eyes deepened, the way his breath became shallow as the distance between them hummed with an energy that was undeniable. Ethan found himself captivated by the delicate fragrance of her perfume, a gentle floral essence that lingered in the atmosphere surrounding her. He found himself entranced by the fullness of her lips, which danced as she spoke, glimmering in the soft light. an image that embodied all he yearned to discover yet understood he must resist. In the midst of this blazing performance, a fragment of their being stayed sharply attuned to the edge upon which they balanced. They found themselves balancing precariously on the brink of a decision that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their family. Yet even that peril held a certain irresistible charm. Their entwined affection and past, the very essence that rendered their attraction forbidden, was simultaneously the wellspring of its extraordinary strength. They maneuvered through their connection with an unusual elegance, testing the boundaries without ever completely shattering them. They celebrated the exhilaration of their bond, all the while nurturing a deep, unvoiced reverence for the boundary that delineated it. They had mastered the delicate balance of basking in the warmth without succumbing to the flames, crafting an intimate realm where their illicit desires could thrive in a peculiar, exquisite, and perilous symbiosis with their obligations to each other. A delicate balance emerged, a rhythm both fragile and fleeting. They recognized the undeniable chemistry, all the while deliberately reinforcing the boundaries of their familial roles. The days unfolded with a gentle, affectionate bond, carefully devoid of any blatant romanticism. They gathered around the table, exchanging meals and weaving tales of their daily lives, providing support while maintaining a respectful physical distance that masked the electric current thrumming just beneath the surface. In the stillness of her room at night, Claire would grant herself a fleeting moment of personal indulgence. The gentle hum of her toy served as a vessel for her musings, her daydreams not wandering to an unknown figure, but rather to the comforting, yet taboo, essence of her own son. The enchantment of her hidden yearnings was now intricately entwined with him. Every surge of ecstasy, a complex mirror of her yearning and the unspoken, electric bond that characterized their moments together. Ethan, confined to the solitude of his room, grappled with the tumult of his thoughts. He poured his restless energy into summer coursework and late-night runs, seeking to exhaust his body in hopes of silencing the clamor within his mind. He remained steadfast in honoring the vow he had given his mother to uphold the boundary they had established together. They discovered a method to navigate the paradox, to dwell in the realm between recognition and execution. Their bond stood as a testament to their resilience, a mutual recognition that their feelings were genuine. Yet the love they shared as mother and son held greater significance than the transient, passionate rush of desire. Then arrived the night when the balance was irrevocably broken. The air hung heavy with the impending storm, and the atmosphere within mirrored that electric tension. They sat on the couch, a bowl of popcorn nestled between them, as the flickering light of the television painted dancing shadows across the walls. It was a tableau of idyllic domesticity, a moment captured from the life they had meticulously crafted. As the film progressed, a soothing drowsiness enveloped Claire. Exhausted from a lengthy week, she surrendered to the cushions, a gentle sigh of contentment slipping from her lips. In a moment devoid of deliberate intention, shaped by the passage of time and routine, she tilted her head, finding solace against Ethan's thigh. It was a gesture, uncomplicated and pure, one they had exchanged countless times in the past. Yet this evening held a distinct quality. The reassuring warmth of his body beneath her cheek had transformed into something more profound. The atmosphere crackled with energy. Ethan stiffened. He attempted to concentrate on the film, on the dialogue, on anything that could distract him from the undeniable tension coiling in his stomach, a visceral and potent reaction to her proximity. In a languid stupor, Claire remained only faintly conscious of the closeness of her situation until a sudden awareness washed over her. The undeniable firmness pressing against her cheek. A surge coursed through her, a rush of warmth that blended shock with a chilling, exhilarating fear. In that fleeting moment, every meticulously built barrier, every silent guideline, and all the fiercely protected limits dissolved into nothingness. Drawn by an irresistible pull, she lifted her gaze skyward. In the soft glow of the dim light, her gaze intertwined with Ethan's, revealing a stark, unfiltered mirror of her own longing and hesitation. With a daring that disregarded all reason, she bridged the small gap that separated them. Her lips brushed against his. It was a hesitant, exploratory kiss, gentle and fleeting, yet it unleashed a profound upheaval. The flavor was a blend of salt and butter from the popcorn, mingling with the intoxicating and terrifying essence of a line crossed, a point of no return. As she withdrew, her heart thudded like a frantic drum within her chest. The solitary sound in the room was the neglected film, the atmosphere heavy with the gravity of their recent actions. Lucas gazed at her, his thoughts swirling in a tempest of disbelief and emerging understanding. The kiss unfolded like a revelation, a raw acknowledgement of the desire that had been quietly brewing between them for weeks. Yet intertwined with the essence of that longing was the crushing realization of their wrongdoing. They found themselves adrift in a realm from which there was no turning back. The ensuing silence stretched like an abyss, a profound emptiness demanding to be filled with words capable of either mending the rift or fracturing their reality beyond repair. "We can't," Claire murmured, her voice quaking with uncertainty. "Ethan, this must not occur once more. What we possess is far too significant to jeopardize." In a fleeting moment of madness, Ethan swallowed, his throat constricted with a surge of emotion. "I understand, Mom. I apologize. I found myself adrift in unfamiliar territory." They remained in silence, the distance between them a chasm filled with shattered boundaries and unvoiced anxieties. As Claire finally rose from the couch, her movements stiff and deliberate, she understood that the path ahead would be one of atonement. They needed to navigate their path back to restore the trust they had just obliterated. Burdened by a heart that pulsed with a mix of weight and an unsettling vitality, she whispered her good night and retreated to her room. As she shut the door softly, she pressed her back against it, acutely aware that the night had transformed them forever. She mourned the innocence that had slipped through their fingers, yet within the shadows, a fierce resolve ignited, a steadfast commitment to safeguard her son, even from her own shortcomings. Yet the flame, once ignited, would not be snuffed out. The kiss was not a conclusion. It was a spark that set everything ablaze. The meticulously crafted framework of morality had been devoured, revealing only the unvarnished, irrefutable essence of their bond. Later that night, driven by an inexplicable urge, Claire made her way down the shadowy corridor toward Ethan's room. With every step, she felt the weight of her maternal duty slip away, yielding to the woman whose long-suppressed desires now surged forth. As she gently pushed open his door, she found him perched on the edge of his bed, wide awake, as though he had been anticipating her arrival. The atmosphere buzzed with a collective, intense expectation. In that instant, they both understood that retreat was not an option, and neither of them wished for it to be. With a gentle reverence that seemed sacred, they started to remove each other's garments. Claire's trembling fingers brushed against the hem of Ethan's t-shirt, her gaze absorbing the sight of his physique, the broad shoulders and firm chest of a man she had only ever recognized as a boy. Ethan's hands trembled as he unfastened the clasp of her bra, unveiling the delicate, fair skin of a form he had never dared to envision. Exposed and unguarded, they faced one another, their bond deeper than it had ever been. She was captivated by his strength as his hands roamed over the contours of her body, each caress igniting a surge of unadulterated sensation within her. He found himself entranced by the breathtaking truth of her bare form, a vision that dismantled and reconstructed his existence in the blink of an eye. They collapsed onto the bed, a chaotic intertwining of limbs and hushed whispers, their bodies engaging in a languid, exploratory rhythm. The realm beyond the bedroom door faded into oblivion. In that singular room, at that precise moment, a desperate and searing passion surged forth, finally unleashed. Claire experienced the heat of his skin pressed against hers, the intensity of his kisses trailing down her body, weaving a rich tapestry of sensation that rendered her breathless. This transcended mere physicality. It was a gathering of spirits, a reflection of the affection and desire that had flourished in the depths of their designated positions. They glided together, a fluid and harmonious ballet ignited by weeks of unspoken longing. Upon arriving at the edge, the world around them fell into a hushed stillness, as if time itself had paused. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, a mother and son enveloped in a moment of love so deep it defied every rule they had ever understood. In the hushed stillness that followed, entwined within the fabric of their shared intimacy, an unspoken connection lingered between them. Their connection had now been shaped into a new, indestructible force. The walls had vanished. They had ventured into the depths of the forbidden, emerging transformed from its flames, united by an act that was both exquisite and devastating. As Claire gradually eased away from his hold and made her way back to her own room, she sensed that their adventure was only just commencing. They would inevitably confront the repercussions as they sought to bridge the profound chasm of their love with a world that would remain forever oblivious to its essence. In the stillness before dawn, they rested separately in their beds, the resonance of their intertwined hearts serving as a perpetual reminder of the decision they had embraced and the affection that had guided them into uncharted territory. In their mutual selection, they unearthed a profound and exhilarating freedom, one that was both daunting and complete. The boundaries we establish to characterize our connections, mother, son, friend, lover, are frequently shaped by societal norms rather than the genuine, tumultuous essence of the heart. This narrative delves into the breaking of established norms and invites us to ponder what resides beneath the surface. What unfolds when the most profound affection, that of a mother, encounters the irresistible pull of human longing? Is it a form of corruption, or could it be a more intricate and nuanced connection altogether? We welcome you to express your reflections on this venture into the unknown. What insights does this narrative offer regarding solitude, selfhood, and the hidden yearnings we each possess? Your viewpoint is an essential element of this dialogue. If these questions and narratives strike a chord with you, we invite you to subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with those who are unafraid to delve into the intricate truths of the human experience. We appreciate your time and attention,